So for this, we have the moderator, none other than Mr. Sandeep Bansal, JT, Director, IT and Digital Transformation, MAHE, Manipal. I heartily welcome you, sir. And we have as speakers, Mr. Sudipto Basu, Senior Director, Cloud Engineering Oracle, Mr. Arunraja, Karthick, Head of IT Infrastructure, Cloud, COE and Security, DTDC Express Limited, and Ms. Madhavi Kanumuri, Chief Digital and Information Officer at Birla Carbon. And we also have Mr. Bhoopendra Solanki, CIO, Sakra World Hospital. We heartily welcome you, sir. And yeah, right after this, you all can lead for the question and answer, and please pick up the best question as well. And the time constraint is 45 minutes, sir. Thank you so much.
So, good evening. I have our panelist over here. So, the point which has been given to us, the discussion is about buying cloud well. The cost is the most important part in our business which we are doing, or whenever we are doing our practices. As a technology leader, we are equally important to ensure the cost which is being incurred on the day-to-day operations, buying new services, has to be taken care. Cloud is one of the most important service. Now, there's something which we call as any enterprise. If you see, we need to have instances, cloud instances. We all are having mobile devices in our hand, and every mobile device is having more than 100 plus application. And these applications are mostly running on the cloud. So cloud is very, very integral part of our IT system. And as per the reports, the India public cloud service market is projected to reach a remarkable $13 billion by 2026, experienced a robust compound annual growth rate of 23.1% between year 21 and 26, as per IDC report. The revenue for the first half of 2022 has already reached or amounted about $2.8 billion, signifying the rapid growth of the cloud service sector. The cloud service and various delivery models making the right choice while acquiring the solution, while procuring the solution, has become increasingly challenging. So many cloud services are available. Everybody is having their own features, benefits, services, tools available. Now, as a tech leader, it becomes very difficult for us to analyze what can be best fit for mine. Though we will try to do many of the groundwork to ensure that what we buy is best for my organization, but still there is no end. And once you have onboarded to one solution, moving to other solution is again a challenge. So, over to the point, how to choose a right solution or a cloud, this is what we are going to discuss today. And we have our esteemed panelists. I request each of them to introduce themselves and also emphasize what is their role in cloud decision making in their organization. Over to you.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so I am part of Oracle's cloud engineering group, so not part of the development, but on the business side of it. So what my team and I'm responsible is for taking customers right from pre-sale stage to a go live on our cloud. So it's like an end-to-end journey. So that's what my role is. So with that,
Thank you. So I'm part of DTDC. I heard IT, infra, cloud, security. I mean, one case where lock and key with the same man, not case. Yeah, so I play an important role in terms of taking a decision or playing a vital role in transforming the organization through whatever the digital journey we are into, which includes, of course, the topic of the hour, buying the cloud. Yeah.
Good evening all. Myself Bhoopendra Solanki. I am working with Sakra World Hospital as a CIO. So yes, technology decision we play the important role and bringing the organization to the digital platform and transformation.
Welcome to all of you. So here I will put my first question to Mr. Arun. As a technology leader, we are witnessing a significant surge in process, automation and business application, leading to a heightened demand of efficiency, infrastructure management. To address this challenge, it becomes imperative for us to explore alternative solution, and cloud migration emerges as compelling option. So today I will ask from Mr. Arun to share his expertise on the essential sequence of decision related to cloud migration. Over to you.
Thank you, Sandeep. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Girish, the last panelist, and the dear friend over there asked the right question to Girish, which I've partially answered what I'm going to answer right now, right? So my strong belief in term of taking a decision to opt for a cloud or any technology or a solution, it's a purpose. So the purpose has to be very clear, the solution has to be very clear, which should actually drive us in terms of what is that we are looking at. The scale of technology growth and the phase of technology requirement is changing every day. And there was another question in the group that what would be my children situation after 10 years? I mean, how data center is going to be after 10 years? So I thought I'll cook all of those things into this answer where the purpose, the solution, the need and the demand should choose the solution rather the technology or either the buzzword of, okay, moving to cloud. So when we speak about choosing a cloud, is it an option or is it a solution? It has to be assessed properly and very neatly. When it comes to the case, what DTDC does for our own, we are 30 years old legacy organization. All our applications were like at least 15 years old, and today we are like considerably migrated to cloud in last 2 years. We are using GCP, AWS, Azure of the world. I'm sorry, we are not into Oracle yet. But the decision-making process of moving into cloud was not something today morning I've taken a decision and tomorrow morning I switch it off here and switch it on there. The process of identifying the purpose, the process of identifying the right solution, right technology, and the cost behind it. We speak technology and migration today, and if we are not putting our enough focus on cost, we're going to burn our finger tomorrow. So choosing the right technology, right cloud, right service provider is going to be the very key in terms of moving into the cloud. So now the question, what I would like to answer is, now tell me which is the cloud provider, which is the CSP I should go when I pick up a solution which has to be migrated. Then there is no straight answer, there is no direct standing instruction or SOP says that, okay, this is the solution, you go to Oracle. This is the solution, you go to Google. There is no such direct question or answer. It is an individual or a group of people who decides with a proper checklist, validating all the parameters which is satisfying what I'm doing, which I'm migrating, does it converted into a future scale, the cost spent over there is a proper return of investment has been seen or not, and how I'm calculating the return of investment. Does the return of investment is in terms of cost versus the utilization or cost versus the revenue. So all of these parameters to be assessed and then take a decision of whether I'll be migrating to the cloud. So I, as an individual, no matter whether I belong to any organization, I strongly believe hybrid cloud should be the mantra when it comes to any modernization approach. And there was one question in between that we are going to SAP. SAP is on a SaaS platform today, or they are scaling largely into SaaS-based solution. And there are solutions where we are speaking that we are on cloud and we want to bring SAP back to on-prem. The decision is not just straight that I'll go pick up this and I'm going to convert it into one solution. It should be very precisely designed in a way that there is a checklist followed, and that checklist should drive you towards a solution and then the answer. And that gives us the clarity what I'm doing and what is the end state of my entire platform is going to be. Then taking the decision of whether I want to move to a cloud, or I want to retain back in on-prem, or I want to procure a SaaS product for my current requirement has to be decided. That's the way I look at choosing a solution into a cloud, Sandeep.
Wonderful. So the point is that we should have a checklist, we should do our brainstorming, we should evaluate before moving to cloud, because it's not a very straight thing. You are moving to or migrating to cloud and then coming back. It is not like you just open the door, go to the house and come back. So very wonderful. Now over to you. When it comes to the decision-making process for cloud migration, technology leaders often encounter various challenges and difficulties. Today we have privilege to have Mr. Solanki, which shed light on the key areas of difficulty in the process of underlying causes behind it. So I will ask Mr. Solanki to share his valuable insight on identifying the pain points that technology leaders typically face during the cloud migration decision making. Over to you, Mr. Solanki.
Yeah, now everyone knows this cloud is the strong option in the market available, so they can take easily decision. Two type of organization I will divide. One is fresh organization. They can even think in beginning only and go to cloud. There is no such deep analyze on that, because their application also be on new platform and they can easily put into the cloud. It can be hybrid or public or private. But when organization running their business, in between they want to think to move on cloud. So there is a big challenge. Like being a healthcare, CT, MRI, radiology images, those are big in size. Sometimes it is in GB. So latency plays a big role. And it is not only cloud provider. Cloud provider can give you the compute power. But what about the accessibility to the organization? We are not going to use that image or that report on the cloud. We have bring back to the organization, doctor has to see. So that latency in healthcare industry plays a big role. Second is privacy of data. So data privacy also biggest challenge. In past we seen even cloud or on-prem both hacked by the hackers and ransomware attacks, many things. And then sometimes they ask the money. We don't know they paid or not, but yes, those challenges are there. So two biggest factor, the healthcare industry is still in the dilemma, we should go or not. But partially this healthcare sector also moved to the cloud. So we can say we are on the hybrid cloud. And I would say here, like before thinking to cloud, you are going to demolish your own house and going to the rented house. So if you are going to rented house, demolishing your own house, you have
expert insight on the challenges highlighted by Mr. Solanki regarding cloud migration. Mr. Basu will help us understand practical solutions and strategies to overcome these difficulties. Over to you.
Sure. I'm in this envious position of where you guys can throw challenges and but I think Mr. Karthick has answered chief, right? Like if you have a legacy application, what he was talking about, right? What is your motivation to move to cloud? What is the outcome that you are looking for, right? And it has to be, in terms of your running your business. Are you facing, scalability challenges, maintenance challenges? Do you want to really come out of a data center business because, your core business is in healthcare, right? If that's your long-term vision, then, there is a path that can be carved out. I mean, the more challenges we face is when, as Mr. Karthik said, that in many organizations there will be a vertical pressure, right? With gravity coming in, that everybody is moving to cloud, so we will also have to have our cloud strategy. That's the pitfall that our customers, we always kind of advise that not go there. Let's take an incremental step. As a cloud service provider also, we don't want to be the whales, right? Like who wants to bring every workload into our cloud. We are the holy grail that will solve all of your problems. That practically doesn't happen. So I think if we start with that, the business outcome, you can lay down your journey. And I would say, three things that I have seen. I think if you look at parameters, probably, these two gentlemen will be able to put 10 parameters that they are looking at. But, basically it comes down to your security and, the compliance certification and all that. That's your first, as a cloud service provider to choose. And second will be price performance, right? Like, what I need and what do I give, right? And trust me, with price, there is always a trade-off, right? If you get into a price bidding zone, you are missing out. If you are not asking the right question, you are missing out on trade-offs. So I think those are some of the things that, will be my approach or our approach that we have done, is kind of sitting down with customers, understanding their long-term vision and strategy, right? What is their 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year goal? And that goal is not cloud, it's agnostic of cloud, right? It's more like the business outcome. What do you want to achieve? And from there you can lay down the cloud strategy which gets aligned with the business, and you can see all the benefits.
Wonderful. So how we see towards it now, there's a migration requirement, then the strategy has been planned, the decision making has challenges. And as rightly Mr. Basu said that, when we are planning, we should be basically knowing what we need, why we need, and how, and who is going to be the person. So when we are planning this, we have a strategy, we are going for we get a top-down pressure. So at that time, there are definitely, as a tech leader, everything come on us and we have to think about it. Now, whether it is a technological challenge, whether it is a vertical pressure, or whether it is a business pressure. So to go about and move to the migration, I would request Mr. Solanki that you greatly appreciate your guidance on the essential questions that need to be asked from the cloud service provider during the cloud buying process. As technology leaders, it is crucial for us to be well informed and ensure that we make the right decision that align with our organization needs and goals and meet the ROI, as Mr. Arun said. Over to you, Mr. Solanki.
Yeah. First, being a technology, first identify the pain point. Why you want to move to the cloud? So if you know your pain point, then ask the same question to the cloud provider. Like in our case, earlier I mentioned latency is the biggest challenge, and then data privacy. So if they come back with the both the answer, then we can decide. So two biggest challenge in the healthcare industry where we are decision is getting stopped because of those challenges. And the service provider, we done the POC as well, one of the cloud service provider. And even they also not came back with the appropriate answer. They given haywire answer, so that is why we stopped, and somehow we are on this hybrid cloud. So identify the pain point and check with the cloud provider. One question comes very first in this, the cost. How I will control the cost, because the beginning there is a X cost, and then after the 1 year or 2 year it's a X plus 2 or sometimes 2X or 3X. So those parameter how we can control, one thing. Second is the earlier like 4-5 year it's just like an infrastructure. Instead of the on-prem you are putting the application to the cloud. like infrastructure you are outsourcing. But now it is not like that. It is a this security also one of the major factor in this. So this security they are going to control, or we have to build our own team. So in my opinion, always keep your team as well to control all the structure, like security people, so they can take the proactive action as well as the continuous monitoring. This cloud, like once you buy and then forget, okay, bill is coming, paying, and then that's all. No, this gradually in cost will going to increase, and you don't have any control. So you can outsource your infrastructure, your application to those cloud, but keep your core team for the continuous monitoring and proactive approach. So cost is the major factor for the any service provider. That is the first question. Second, other like healthcare, this privacy and latency of the bandwidth and connectivity.
Well, so the point here, yeah, you please.
I have a couple of points. Since the question is like, what are all questions I will ask my cloud provider to choose him? Okay, probably this is like indirect question to Basu also. He can think. When we initiate any solution design, we'll sit with almost all the hyperscalers, top in the market. No time we have seen like hyperscaler A is largely different than hyperscaler B. Both give same solution, net no net, same cost, same timeline for delivery, and still what makes an organization or a person to take a decision that I'll move to this hyperscaler is the key, and that drives us towards the success. If you ask me, we normally jump into one conclusion that, okay, A services, A wala hyperscaler is better, and this B services, this hyperscaler is better, and we trying to choose normally between hyperscaler A and hyperscaler B based on the services which they are good at. I mean, I don't want to call out the names, but still we know the larger hyperscalers, what they are good at. But normally if we speak about just migrating a platform, like a compute or a storage, it is a pure kind of a game. Who going to win it based on the cost, based on the services? But when it comes to modernization or a technology transformation or the services which you are exactly picking out for, if you are looking at AI/ML, this is the guy. I know he can change my data analytics platform next day morning, upside down, so that's the reason I'm going to choose him. Or if it is a compute game, it should be purely based on the cost, it should be purely based on what is my long-term goal, what I'm looking at, what would be my transformation strategy after 3 years from now. Any migration or any technology adoption for an organization, we strongly believe that minimum 4 years, that technology should stand and deliver as a return of investment to the organization. These are all the parameters should be considered when we are choosing an hyperscaler, along with whatever the technology and the modernization we are designing. But still, my question to Basu, probably you can answer, if sometime Sandeep thinks that, why should I choose a particular hyperscaler, for what purpose? Still that remains unanswered for all of us most of the time.
Great. So the point here is that, again, it comes to the strategy point. Because if you see, when you're asking a question, it should be having a strategy where you are looking for what is the requirement of solution. As Mr. Arun highlighted, all the hyperscaler or the cloud service provider having one or other solutions, maybe are neck to neck same prices, but we have to see what are the USPs and what we are getting. And lastly, ROIs is very, very important part, and thanks for those inputs. But what I'm going to the point which Mr. Solanki raised is about the security, about monitoring the application, because a cloud is a sustainable cost. It's not like, you have purchased it today and you forget it. It is going to get a monthly cost. And we all have passed through with a very, very hard time of pandemic, when you are not having any income and you have to pay for cloud service providers. And if you don't pay, next day your instance can be done and your business is shut down. Now, seeing all these points, I move on to my next question to Mr. Basu, that to enlighten us on the transformative potential of AI/ML in cloud management and its pivot role in the realm of cloud computing. We are eager to understand how AI and machine learning technologies can be harnessed to optimize cloud management processes, enhance resource utilization, allocation, automation tasks, and improve overall operation efficiency. Over to you, Mr. Basu.
Okay, this is a little loaded question because it has different aspects of it. But starting from the operational elements of it, I think DevOps is a term which has come 10, 15 years back. People have started automating their operations piece long back, and most of the data center operations are now there are heavy automation that have gone into it. But where AI/ML comes in is helping you to the next level, right? Like you can automate your task. You can patch say thousands of servers at one go, right? That problem has been solved 10 years back. But the detection part of it, if there is something which goes wrong, and auto correction of it is where AI/ML is playing a huge role. Like from our side, our data centers, there is a huge investment on complete automations with special emphasis on preventing failures, right? Like the term reliability, in the SRE term, the term which is beautifully framed called reliability is something which every cloud providers are now working on in how you can use AI/ML to improve your reliability, right? See, things will go down, right? There will be outage, but how do you recover effectively without manual intervention and very quickly is be the difference. And that difference is something which can be built with AI/ML, right? So that is somewhere on the operational aspect. If you look at DevOps, the DevSecOps, even security, right? How do you detect threat and also build your guardrail for any threat, the cyber security threats and all that is coming, is somewhere we have invested big time. Then coming to the observability and manageability part of it, I think we were having some offline discussions as well, that that using some of the native observability capabilities of any cloud, right? If you you have to build your use some of those capabilities, the APIs that the cloud service providers are giving, and effectively manage your cloud, right? Effectively have your guardrails in play, and also you can develop your AI/ML capabilities, because all the logs and everything that you have, the application that you are running, you can build your AI/ML capabilities on top of it, right? Based on the applications that you are running. Now, as a CSP, cloud service provider, outside of operations, I think we do have a huge plethora of our own AI/ML services, right? Like which any cloud service provider gives. And that are all in 3 layers: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, right? In IaaS, you need those, high computing, right? The GPU the GPU servers and all that, which you need for you to be able to run, large algorithms. On the PaaS side, you need to have managed, the data science capabilities, right? So that also most of the service providers they have. So if you want to run your own AI/ML, you have to build your own AI/ML ops and and automate the entire pipeline. You can do that using this, using any CSP. Similarly, on SaaS, whoever are having SaaS applications like we do, we have a huge SaaS product. We have incorporated AI/ML inside that, right? So if you are running HCM or a finance SaaS on our cloud, there are a lot of inbuilt capabilities that are out there, like anomaly detection and like financial fraud detection and all that are already inbuilt. So that can be run with a click of a button, using your own data. So that's how I think, as from a CSP perspective, we are harnessing the power of AI/ML, and we just got started. So it's
That's wonderful. with the power of AI ML, we can have our security practices in place. We can automate the processes. Definitely, DevOps is very, very important part, which can help us to secure and monitor our cloud practices. Having all this thing, now, Mr. Arun, you have already talked about the strategy part. We have already discussed about the aspects of cloud adoption. But I would like to understand, like, in the cloud adoption, including cost consideration, there is a other aspect of service level agreement, control and visibility, as well as the seamless integration of cloud solution into a hybrid IT systems. We're eager to gain a comprehensive understanding of how to effectively manage cost associated with cloud migration. Over to you, Mr. Arun.
I think I have 3 questions now to answer. Yeah. So I'll go from cost. Okay. Cost on cloud. So it used to be very underrated point few years back when pre-COVID time. Cloud has been largely used to optimize the spend. But post-COVID or COVID demanded us to most of the Indian organization to get into cloud. Then we realized cloud is not for optimizing the cost. Cloud is going to burn the cost if I'm not choosing it properly. So what as an individual or an organization do to make sure that cloud cost is in control? So I would say we would have multiple functions and departments in IT or in any technology divisions, and all the organization should start or would come up with this particular division inside IT, which is called FinOps. So we would be eventually moving from the cost center to a profit center over a period of time, and that definitely requires some FinOps delivery within the IT function. The role of FinOps is what something Basu was highlighting as observability and monitoring. Continuous monitoring, continuous observing, and identifying all the opportunities to scrutinize and save the cost, which is something a non-technical hat which is supposed to do day in, day out. If we give something a cost to a technical hat, he himself will always compromise, okay, this particular application, this particular platform needs this demand, so let it run for some time so that organization will get benefited in terms of availability and uptime. But a person who is removing the technical hat and puts the financial hat and looks into the technology from that perspective, whether I have right-sized it, whether I have optimizedly used it, whether I have brought all kind of feasibilities which will reduce the cost. It can be signing up an enterprises contract, or it can be resizing, or if situation demand, decommission the platform or bring the platform back to on-prem or move to a different hyperscaler where I can get much benefit. But the visibility on cost should be always available to an organization or a functional tower so that we are always on top of it. But how I can get this visibility becoming a question when we are into the multi-cloud platform. So there are multiple technology or a solution in place which gives us a single pane of glass where I can see the cost spent over a cloud. This is again 3 years old story. Now, the individual hyperscaler providers their own dashboards that, okay, you are spending this cost on me for this reason, provided I have a proper tax applied. Which application I'm spending what cost. So as an individual, how I look at a cost spend, I apply a tag for individual services running. End of the month, I look at a tag and I see what cost spent on a tag. The tag is to an application. X amount spent on an application, does it worth for an organization in terms of a return of investment? That application is going to give back to me. I'm going to decide whether that application is going to stay with me in cloud, or stay somewhere else in the world for me. Okay. So this has to be a day-to-day job, not once in a while, once in a quarter, once in a year, I'll go back and see whether I can negotiate the cost and reduce it. Because this is not something an hardware game. I go negotiate, buy once, and I live with it forever, right? So cost on the cloud is something I need to have a visibility day in, day out so that I can make it optimal. And I'm coming to your second question here, Sandeep, because you clapped the service level also tag to the cost, service level and cost is always a game. If you are expecting higher service level, you should accept that I'm going to spend more. If you want your application to be 101% uptime, I'm not saying 100%, 101% uptime, you need to have a multi-AZ deployment, 200% available. So for the same application, you're going to spend 2 times of its cost. So service level is directly proportionated to the cost spent on cloud. That decision is again, the application return of investment is going to give to the organization. It is not a technology team who going to decide whether, okay, this is a key application and thus it requires a higher availability. Service level will be decided based on the business. My RPO and RTO will be decided based on the business. If business demands whatever RPO and RTO, that comes to my service level, and the service level is directly proportionate to the cost I'm going to invest on it. And that's the overall cost cooked up into the cloud. But my sincere advice or the input for now is, we should have a dedicated FinOps team who will be managing and monitoring cloud cost. Eventually, it is going to be the IT cost over a period of time. Cloud cost, I need a dedicated cloud FinOps team who will have their eyes on it so that we have a better control over it.
Wonderful. So, over to the point which Mr. Arun raised before I going to my last question, I would request Mr. Basu to his expertise in identifying additional measures that cloud providers can undertake to streamline the decision-making process for technology leaders. So, this is a direct question from a cloud service providers, right? Equally important, I'm interested in understanding the proactive steps technology leaders can take to facilitate the decision-making process for themselves. So how can you help as a service provider?
Yeah, so again, if I come back with the business outcome, so once the business outcome is defined, and then probably I'm talking to maybe one of these gentlemen on my left who are technology leaders, then, the technology should be, how we approach it is that the technology should be, a means to an end, right? Like today, as he rightly said, selling on technology is not happening, right? Like all service, all cloud service providers have almost the same services, same cost, same service levels. So how do you differentiate, right? And that's where I think, what has worked well for us from our experience is, show what you do, right? From a proof of concept to proof of value, right? I think that's something which needs to be shown. And I got my validation again today while talking to them offline that they are not buying based on a PPT or a Word document saying, business process re-engineering, right? I think those days are over. I think it has to be tangible. It has to tie back to whatever the value that you are showing through your POC. It has to tie back to, to the business outcome, the goals that you have set. Even what we are doing, something called pilot to production, right? So what we are doing it is we are, doing the first implementation, a very basic one which, our customers want. And then we are turning that tenancy to customer's name and say, okay, this is something which you have got, and now you guys can use the same, replicate the same and build on top of it, right? So it's not that something, I do a POC, scrap that POC tenancy and move on. And then, the customers will all have to figure out how did they do it. So that is something which, which I feel is very pertinent that, everybody wants to see stuff in action. And the second thing I would say is a little, going back to old days, it's a little intuitive. As he asked, like, how do we choose? And I've seen, we have lost deals because of this. We have won deal because of this. And it's as basic as, your willingness to become a partner with your customer in that journey, in that business outcome, and winning the trust. Right? I think, again, it's a little, as I said, it's a little old school, but I think that old school works because without that trust, even if you have the technology, even if you have all the chops, it's not going to work out, right? And that's where that being a partner in that journey, going through your customer's life cycle, understand their constraint and, and listening to them really helps, right? I think if you listen to our, if we listen to our customers, we tend to do always the right thing. So these are the, like 2-3 things which from our experience we have seen to work. So even in this technology world where, all the gizmos and all that, kind of the shiny thing gets marketed, I think the basic trust and building that trust and working with your customer as a partner really, really helps.
Wonderful. So with this we comes to the end of our discussion, and the key points which I feel has come is there's a strategy. The strategy should be having a checklist while making a decision why we need it. And that checklist has to be properly evaluated, seeing the success factor, looking towards the ROI, long-term benefit, not getting into the pressure. And when evaluating your right solution, you should do the proper analysis, doing your back work. Also, as suggested by Mr. Arun, like to monitor it, either we can depend on an AI ML, or else we can have our own team, which has FinOps team, which can manage it. Definitely depending on your cloud spending, because if somebody is having a very small cloud spending, putting a team on that is not going to work, but it totally depends upon your stuff. And in the last, the point is having a relationship with your understanding, and definitely when you are choosing a cloud service provider, you should have that confidence within yourself, because it's not a one-time journey. It's going to be a long-term journey. So with this, session comes to an end, and I request for any questions you want to ask.
Hello. Thanks, Sandeep. Beautiful panel. So my question to, mostly I find here, Sudeep, you are the only person who can take this question as a service provider. Well, through a service, through a survey on the security of cloud services, it was found that 94% organizations are moderately to extremely concerned about, cloud security. And when asked about biggest threats, misconfiguration came to be 68% as a threat. Unauthorized access, 58%. Insecure interface as 52%. And hijacking of accounts as 50% threat. So the question is like what the service providers are doing in terms of security, plus the government policies or anything, if anybody can throw the light on that, please. Thank you.
Yes, I think this threat is real, as you have pointed out all the data points, which are all right, but as I said, this is the number one criteria, right? We enter into any discussion, this is the question that we get asked, or this is the first thing that gets an entry into a conversation, right? And there are so many things which we are doing, right? I mean, if you look at web application WAF, the web application firewall, right? And then, what we project is everything is encrypted. Even, your data is encrypted at every level, right? So that's the data. Then at a web level, as I said, WAF is something. Then we have landing zone. So what every cloud service provider has built are landing zones, which are like automation available in GitHub and other places, where if you have to deploy something on cloud, the entire security posture is taken care of through that landing zone, right? So all the guardrails are out there. You have to just go choose your specific landing zone, the applications that you want to deploy, and use that Terraform scripting to kind of deploy your stuff on cloud, right? And with that landing zone, what happens is all the guardrails are in place, right? All service providers are giving, whatever. So there is no misconfiguration. You spoke about that. So there is no misconfiguration that can come in, because that's been tested and tried and all that. I think where problem happens is, if it's in most of the cases, like if a service provider is giving a PaaS or a SaaS service, I think the control is completely on us. If you look at the roles and responsibility metrics, the cloud service provider controls everything. Only the data you bring in, and that's it. So that's completely on us, and we kind of take care of everything. But where I think most of these threats come in is where we are only giving the IaaS, the infrastructure, and on top of it, it is customers' responsibility to build it. And that's where I think if you don't take all the security postures, then things happen. And then the service provider have the, officially they will say, hey, I'm not responsible for this stack, right? So they also get out of it. But again, that's where we are trying to help our customers by building those landing zones. All cloud service provider, they have their own security products, right? Through which you can monitor, you can, kind of control at networking level, and look at all those aspects and see, okay, is there any threat? How much is vulnerable? What is vulnerable? They can do an automatic, check of your posture and give you recommendations and things like that. But yeah, I think at every level we are doing it. It's a journey, as I said. We have to work with the customer, right? It's easy to say, hey, you are responsible for this, I'm responsible for this, and move away, but then you know what's going to happen. That customer is also going to move away to somebody else.
We'll end up with one more last question, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, my question is to Arun. We talked about a strategy to what to buy for what kind of solution and all. And the whole point of going to cloud is, less cost of ownership and less overhead of management or administration, right? That's how we started the journey towards moving to the cloud. You sort of inclined towards the hybrid cloud, right? So something has to be on-prem and something has to go on cloud. Don't you think that it will become more like it will be against the fundamental principle of managing two things? And at some point in time, your on-premise will be out of date, or probably a thing will not be even properly supported as well, right? So how are you going to manage your business with the speed, with the scale, if you are still thinking to be in hybrid and of course on the cloud? I mean hybrid model, I mean to say.
Yeah, appreciate the question. So that's what I think I have answered during the course of my discussion itself, right? Strategy makes everything here, okay? If you are a startup, you believe, I don't want anything, I don't want a technology team at all to do something sitting in my office, you have blow up everything on cloud. So there is no second thought of thinking hybrid cloud over there. If you are from an organization which runs for the last 30, 40 years, and they have seen their application started from Foxfruit till whatever we are discussing on Python today, they cannot just like that wipe it off all their previous legacy and switch to cloud, okay? My answer for hybrid cloud, largely on the strategy for the organization which has legacy behind it, which has a kind of manufacturing. So I believe Vishal have answered to one of the question in the previous session. If you are a manufacturing organization, you cannot leave away your OT network. Then which means eventually you cannot leave away the hybrid cloud into your strategy, right? The answer for this question will be strategy. There is no harm in moving completely to cloud. There is no harm in moving completely back to on-prem. But am I having best of both the worlds? That's what, as an individual, I look at. So if I carry a legacy, I ensure that my transition is proper and I have that cushion to jump back to wherever I want at whatever the time period. That cushion always keeps me to feel safe. So the question in terms of security, there is a myth. You host everything in cloud, you are secured. It is a myth. Data in cloud is not owned by the cloud provider, right? It is data in cloud is your responsibility. Security is always your responsibility. It could be for an organization, for an individual, right? That's the reason I call out hybrid cloud as a solution or a strategy based on what an organization is demanding. If you're a legacy organization, and yeah, I do agree, there are legacy organizations which have completely shut their shop and opened everything in a cloud, but there are suffocations which they couldn't open out, that I was happy here, or do I need to put my UAT in on-prem and production in cloud? Because time to market, demand to the capacity, all of these things is what you are expecting from cloud, right? Which something I can manage in my on-prem for the infrastructure which doesn't need that. Probably my UAT, probably my quality, I can still run on my on-prem. The kind of strategy which is going to define whether I want an hybrid cloud or fully cloud, it is not a single mantra or a one t-shirt fits everyone. It is a strategy which an organization takes that fits them. That's the way I see it. Thank you.
So, wonderful session, and I really appreciate by the speakers how they have handled the things. So, strategy, architecture, design, planning, all those things which matters a lot while we are creating our own strategy. So, we cannot put everything on the cloud service provider. We also need to do something. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all the panelists for sharing the valuable information on the blind cloud well. And I request Mr. Sandeep Bansal to give give this giveaway to the best question.